Joining us now is Congressman Adam Schiff, ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good to be with you, Rachel.
I did not know to expect today at this hearing with these executives from Google and Facebook and Twitter that you would lay out the sort of the known case about collusion. Can I ask about your decision to do that today in that setting and in the way that you did?
Well, I thought it was important, Rachel, that during this follow-up open hearing to that first one we had in March, that we take stock of where we are and what we had found, because as developments have become more and more public, I think there's a tendency to look at it in an incremental way, and sometimes you ignore the big picture, you miss the big picture. It's like not seeing your child grow up because you see them every day. If I had told you 9 months ago that I believe we would find evidence that the Russian government, through intermediaries, would offer assistance in the form of derogatory information about Hillary Clinton to the very top levels of the Trump campaign, including his son, son-in-law, and campaign manager, as what they described as part of the Russian government effort to help Donald Trump, and that the reaction from the campaign is, we would love that help, you would say, you're crazy. No one is going to be stupid enough to put that in. And yet that's exactly what we found. So sometimes it's worthwhile to step back and say, okay, what do we now know? And what we now know is pretty damning.
That sort of boiling frog process that you're describing there, that as you learn these things incrementally, you cease to be shocked by each marginal new development. I wonder, stepping back from it the way you are right now, if you feel like what we have learned meets the literal definition of collusion. I know collusion isn't a legal term, but does that ring the bell in terms of whether or not the Trump campaign helped Russia in its attack?
Well, collusion, the criminal offense would be that of conspiracy. And so the question would be conspiring to do what? Here the issue would be, did the campaign conspire with the Russians to violate U.S. election laws? And to make out a case of conspiracy, you have to have an agreement, as I framed today, an offer, an acceptance, and then you usually need an act in furtherance of that conspiracy. Now, what is the act in furtherance of this? You know, it certainly looks to me like the act is the dumping of these emails, or the act might be the social media campaign. But it certainly looks like the dumping of the emails is the gravamen of the offense here. And I think what Bob Mueller's going to look at, we're looking at it too, but this matters more in terms of Bob Mueller's investigation as it goes to a potential prosecution. Was there an understanding that the way the Russian government would provide these materials is not by giving them necessarily directly to the campaign, but rather publishing them through these other sources like WikiLeaks and Guccifer 2 that would give the campaign some deniability and some distance? Certainly, if that was part of the agreement, then you've got, I think, very close to a prosecutable case. But there are still pieces that we need to find, pieces that Bob Mueller needs to find. But I think we've seen enough, Rachel, to know that what the campaign agreed to do, that is accept the help of the Russian government, to in Papadopoulos' case, seek further contacts and a relationship with the Russian government, even knowing they were in possession of stolen emails of Hillary Clinton, that ought to be enough for us to say that this conduct was unethical, repugnant, and something that we all ought to condemn.
On the matter of criminal liability here, now that we've got this, these court filings in the Papadopoulos case, is there also potentially a criminal chargeable matter here, some sort of liability around the Trump campaign being notified that Russia had stolen documents, that Russia had hacked documents, stolen them from the Democratic side, and then the Trump campaign didn't go to the FBI. They didn't notify authorities. We're not sure exactly what they did with that information, whether they sought to obtain it themselves or arrange for it to be distributed by the Russians in a way that would be advantageous to their campaign with some deniability, as you just suggested. But just the fact that they knew that which would be a crime was committed and they didn't report it to anybody, is that itself some sort of liability?
Well, it's generally only a liability if you have a duty to disclose, if you have a reportable obligation. I'm not sure that there's a reportable obligation here by the Trump campaign if all they know is that the Russians have these emails or the Russians stole these emails. Certainly very unpatriotic, at a minimum, not to report it to the FBI. not to report an approach by a foreign government. But I'm not sure that knowledge alone would be enough.
Congressman Adam Schiff, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time tonight.